Welcome back to B-Side Banter. This is episode 15. I'm here with Music Review World, and I've got Yusuf and Grace with us. So, this is the first time we're doing like a three-person interview. It's going to be fun. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm going to throw it over to you, Yusuf, first to maybe just explain what Music Review World is and a little bit about yourself.
Awesome. Thank you, Tyler, for
Yeah.
for the invite. So, my name is Yusuf. I'm the founder and CEO of Music Review World. And well, I'll say a little bit more about myself.
Hmm.
I'm a digital marketing specialist, passionate about music. I'm a drummer myself.
Nice.
I've been doing music for at least over 8 years now,
Mm,
and that is all about creating value and creating exposure for businesses. And also, I'm
mm,
very passionate about musicians. I've worked with few local musicians here. And yeah, so that's a little bit about me. So when it comes to Music Review World, we started in 2022. So while I was, brainstorming different, ideas, different ways to add value to the music industry, and yeah, Music Review World came to place. And
yeah.
what we do is we are dedicated to giving musicians and artists in-depth review about their
Mm,
music and
mm,
releases. So we make sure that we add value as much as possible, insight and actions that they can take to improve their next, release. So and
mhm,
also we give them exposure because we have high traffic on our website now. So exposure in terms of featuring and the homepage and different angle of the website. So yeah, that's what we do, and yeah, we've been enjoying it so far, meeting amazing talent out there. So yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's awesome. And I do have a couple questions for you, but I'm gonna pop over to Grace. Yeah,
Awesome.
Grace, maybe introduce yourself a little bit. Talk about some of your music interests, anything there.
Okay, hi, I'm Grace. I'm a reviewer for Music Review World. I started sometime in November of 2023. Before writing for
Mhm.
Music Review World, I used to have a little blog on Medium where I would write my own Afrobeats reviews actually. And I got tired
Awesome.
of gatekeeping my information in one place. So I basically just searched where can I make myself grow? Where can I contribute to? And that's when I found his
Mhm,
website, Music Review World. And because of
mhm.
his SEO marketing, it came up first. So that's how I ended up writing for it.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
That's
And
awesome.
it's been a wild ride, really wild ride. Sometimes it's great, sometimes it's a little crazy. So we'll see.
Mm, yeah, yeah, for sure. Awesome. And so you say you were writing a lot for Afro beats, and that was like the main genre you're kind of in for a long time.
It was, but it kind of no longer is because Afrobeats has a
Okay.
centralized region in West Africa, while I kind of branched out to South Africa. That's where most of Deep House and Amapiano is at. So that's currently where I am
Mm.
subjectively.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, in terms of music review world, I found you on Instagram, so not on your website. So I didn't have a chance to test your amazing SEO, but it's uh,
SEO is everywhere, so
it is
SEO
it
is in
true. It is
all
everywhere.
platforms.
Yeah,
So
it's it is.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a really cool story though how you got connected there. But yeah, I'm curious with music review world. You obviously focus kind of on that review side of things, and you've been going for a few years now. Do you find that this is something that is really growing? That artists are really wanting this kind of feedback that you're providing? How do you see how do you see some of these kind of trends coming through? Because like obviously you would be working probably primarily. I don't want to make an assumption, but I'm going to anyway. But I would assume you'd be working mostly with new artists that are probably
Yeah,
independent.
emerging artist. Yeah.
Yeah, and so you would kind of see a lot of these trends starting at the beginning. So I'm just kind of curious. with all the submissions you're getting, are you seeing some interesting trends? Are you seeing a lot of people driving to what you're offering?
Yeah, I would say yes, there is a lot of interest. And the trend that we've been seeing overall is being uh based on the data that I have, has been mostly rock musicians.
Okay.
And it's just amazing how that is playing out, that
Hmm.
a lot
Hmm.
of rock artists or bands are craving for information to really grow. So, and
Hmm.
that is what I've seen in terms of the data that we have. But in terms of exposure and then, the trend, I think musicians have experienced a lot of scams.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
now that we are coming in as one of the most genuine platform that gives in-depth feedback to musicians,
Hmm.
it's been kind of difficult, but we are paving, like we are really moving and penetrating quite well, you know.
Hmm.
And that is what I see in terms of the trend, especially when we are running ads. The
Yeah.
musician comes like, "Oh, I hope this is not another scam or these that." Like, I said, no. I
Hmm.
take my time to reply to them, give them, information that they need to make decision, and then most of the time they convert. They
Hmm.
try us out, and then they see, the quality of our work. So, I think the trend is really. Getting back to be more excellent. So
Hmm.
that is what I would say.
Yeah, yeah, and that makes a lot of sense because there's just scams everywhere. Like no matter what you're doing, there's scams. So like I'm sure it was hard to break through kind of that trust
Yeah.
barrier that like you guys are legit and you want to offer, meaningful feedback, not just get some money and just put something out there that's
Yes.
generic or yeah. So that is really good and that's also really difficult. So I
Yeah,
kind of see
it's
your
been
your struggle.
Grace can testify.
Yeah.
She is one of our top reviewer and critics.
Mhm.
So she can also say something about that.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
for sure.
in terms of trends, what I usually see is yes, due to the data, it's rock, but it's also artists who they used to make music and they used to have a buzz in like the 80s, 90s, and 2000s, and they want to have a
Mm,
comeback. And some of the
okay.
times it goes
Mm,
really well, some of the times it
Mhm.
doesn't. I'd say more so well
Sure.
than doesn't. So yeah.
Mhm. Okay, that's really interesting. Yeah, a lot of people kind of wanting to get back into that space is very interesting. And the rock part is really interesting to me too. Is that like concentrated a lot in the US? Like where would you guys get a lot of your submissions from?
mostly in the US. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And it's it's funny because I think a lot of what I've been seeing, at least in like popular media, has been that rock as a genre is kind of dying. It's not really like but from you guys, from your perspective, you're like it's probably gonna have a resurgence here because you've got all these new
I think so.
artists and bands. Yeah. That's really interesting. Yeah, I read an article. It's been a few years now, but like I don't know if you're familiar with the band Arctic Monkeys, but there was an article that was written that they're like the last rock band out there or something. Which it was a ridiculous article. It wasn't true, but it's just that kind of dialogue is happening is very
Mm,
interesting for that genre specifically. And I guess it kind of makes sense because listenership is really focused on pop right now, especially if you're kind of wanting radio play and stuff like that.
mm.
Yeah. Um. So I I am also kind of curious. Have you guys had any um like crazy success stories in the sense that you've seen some people? I know you guys are fairly new. Like 2022 that's fairly new.
Yeah,
It's
about
not as
about 3 years. Yeah,
Yeah, it's not
fairly
like
new.
you've been going on but have you had any like success stories where you've seen an artist that has submitted a review and then, maybe they've secured something, or they've gotten success in that form?
I actually don't think so
Grace,
because
you want to say something? Yeah,
weirdly enough,
you can go ahead.
if someone is successful, usually they come to us
Mm-hmm.
with a base already established,
Mm,
and
sure.
or the complete opposite where they don't have a base at all. And I honestly
Mm,
just haven't seen the like rags to riches story yet. So we'll see.
mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, and I'm sure you review so many different artists that like sometimes you would probably not even really be like keeping tabs on them, and yeah,
I
like you'd
think, I
probably be like,
mean, besides music, marketing is a huge thing when it comes to the music industry beyond just what your
mm,
music sounds like. And I mean, as a musician myself too, I think that's sometimes detracts from what your music can be. But I think the music
mm-hmm.
industry has so many different factors in play as to what makes someone come back to go to your music event, essentially.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It it becomes a lot of the time about the extra things, not just about the art, the music itself. There's a lot of other things that go into play. Yeah, well, and being in Nashville, you see that I see that quite often because it's a city, but it's a small town in the sense that it's all about who you know. If you have good
Mm.
connections, you can kind of climb that ladder a lot quicker than other people that might not have those connections. So really, in the end, talent isn't as important as, are you a marketable personality? Do you know people, etc.? Do you already have a platform? Do you already have a base? So it is an interesting world to be a part of. And I was curious because, Yusuf, you did mention that you do the reviews, but you kind of try to bring value to the industry in whatever ways as well. Do you guys do any sort of like artist management or anything like that, or are you pretty much solely just reviews?
We are solely just review, and then also
Okay.
a touch of exposure in terms of
Okay.
leveraging our traffic and also
Mm.
leveraging our
Yeah.
user base. So that is what we do
Yeah.
at the moment. But it could at any time
Mm.
maybe get to that level where we are able to manage
Mm.
artists, because for me personally I have that interest to you know to actually build a media house that can accommodate creatives in either in music, in other type of industry.
Mm.
So you never can tell it
Mm.
could come true.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So uh,
Nice. Yeah, yeah, for sure. Um, is there anything else that you guys kind of want to say in regards to music review world as a whole?
um like for me, what I can say, even regarding the last question that you asked, that is there any success that we've experienced? For me, uh there has been success. There has been, and of course, we are dealing with emerging artists, and you know, their search volume is still not heavy yet. So, and of
Mm.
course, music discovery is all about search. So it's not so it's not just
Yeah.
like that, but there has to be an element of search that helps grow the attention and then the discoverability. So, but in terms of some of the top A-list artists that we review, we've seen amazing spikes. So, meaning, Google trust us, Google recommend our stuff to
Mm.
music lovers that are searching. So that is one part of success. Of course, the emerging musician who request our review, they are also getting ranked. So if you search particularly their name review, it our platform comes up. So I think that is also a level of success
Mm.
in
Sure.
a sense. So, and then we do get amazing review from them, because I have an automated system where we ask them, okay, how have you done? Did they see any value? And then they truly speak out. Like in Trustpilot now, like over 40 reviews, and when you read them, it's so heartwarming that the effort that our team put on those reviews, listening to them and writing those in-depth feedback is valued and is working.
Mm,
So
mhm,
they get insight. They get, in fact, some of them will write to me and I'm like, okay, now we have been challenged that they will go and work on their craft very well to come back and see if they can earn our outstanding, because it seems that that is like a golden thing for them.
mm,
So they really want to have that excellent and outstanding rating.
mm.
We don't just give it like that, because
Yeah,
it has to be worth it. So,
of course.
and then we are very honest, no bias. It's just the way it is that our team put their effort into. So,
Yeah. No, and that's really good. You don't want to just kind of pander to people just to try to get, you know, some good reviews, because you want to be true to, is
yeah,
this, good music.
it's journalism. We have to be very uh,
Mhm.
uh, yeah, very clear and very
Yeah.
open. So even with
Yeah.
our new platform that is coming up, uh, we have all of the making sure that we comply with we're in compliance with the whole journalism rules.
Mm,
Now, of course, we get incentive for that, but we also put our disclaimer very clear that even though you pay us, it doesn't affect anything at all.
yeah.
So we have
Yeah,
just give honesty.
it's almost more that you're paying for your time to look.
Yes, basically, an
It's not like a
experience. Yeah.
bribe. It's not like a
Yes.
bribe to get a good review. You're paying for the time that it takes to assess something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's I think that's very valuable. And some people obviously just want positive feedback or whatever,
Yeah.
and
Positive PR.
they just want affirmation.
Yes,
But I think a lot of people do appreciate constructive criticism,
they do. They do.
even if it is, even if somebody submits something and it's quite a, it's mostly constructive criticism and not a lot, I think that's sometimes more valuable than just kind of, I guess, just giving praise where it's not really due. So yeah, I think that's really good.
Yeah.
And I guess, one last thing too, before we kind of wrap up, talking about music review world as a whole. Just curious if there's any listeners that are kind of, that are artists that might be listening. Maybe just walk us through kind of the process, of what it is like to submit, a song for review or an album. I don't know if you do full albums or not, but whatever you kind of submit for review.
Yeah. Okay, I will run that through that quickly. So the the first step is, of course, you discover us the request. There is a submission form on our website, and it's still gonna be.
Mhm.
We are trying our best now on the version 1 of our platform, because this is still like bloggy. So, but we are having a dedicated platform, so more of a SaaS product. So,
Sure.
so it's still gonna be the same process. So you fill in the form, you give us your
Mhm.
background information, and you request either EP, single, or album. So,
Okay.
and then there's a flat fee for each of those, starting at
Mhm.
25 euro per request. And then, of course, you can top up, add on, okay, you want to be featured in the front page, like that. So, that is the
Sure.
process. So after that, we, we gather the information, and our team assign all of the requests to the team based on their strength. So the favorite genre, like Grace, she's more versatile. She has, broad scope of the music industry, so she's very flexible and can take in different genre. So,
Mhm.
and then that is what it is. So average 7 days on average. Within 3 to 7 days, we deliver the review. and
Okay.
that's our process. So
Yeah. No, that's great. Yeah, and that's a pretty good turnaround time. I know some people take a little bit longer than that. And I would
yeah,
assume,
we
like,
try
would
as
that
much as
change
possible.
depending on if it's like a full album, would that take longer? Or do you guys try to still stay in that window?
Yes, you get it. That is why we have the 3 to 7 days. So if it is single, usually turnaround is within 3 days,
Okay.
depending. So if it's EP and album, then it takes a little bit longer. And when we have,
Sure.
like, some album do have, we've seen some album like over 15 track.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's gonna take a lot of time, and you can see it's based on these. I mean, the value is there. So, but yeah, um, different things, different scenarios that we
Mm,
we experience. So, but we just
yeah.
try as much as possible to, and our customer service process is really great. So because I'm handling it myself, so we try as much as
Mhm.
possible to inform them if there's going to be any delay on time, so that I don't go on the internet to make a false claim of anything. So I make sure I'm communicating if there's any other information that could help the team to deliver a great copy. So we collect those and then consider that in the release.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah. Oh, that's great. Cool. Well, let's kind of move on to I'd like to talk a little bit, Grace, about some of your expertise in genre. You were saying, Yusuf, that she's very versatile, but you kind of gave me a little bit of your favorite genres, favorite albums, favorite artists, and I will admit that I did not know a lot of these, especially albums. I had to do a lot of research and look into these. Um, I have, in terms of artists, I have heard of Deep Forest and Godfathers of Deep House. Those are the only two that I really knew. The other ones I just had to look up, and I was into it. But I want to know a little bit about kind of this music world, what it means to you, and yeah, there's definitely a lot of influence in this kind of deep house genre in regular pop music for sure. It's influenced a lot of music that most people would listen to. But yeah, I'd like to kind of bridge that gaps in a sense.
Mm.
Basically, I think, that's a very loaded question, basically.
It
Um,
is, yeah. My bad.
um, I don't know, the tenets of deep house, at least. I'm not the oldest person here, but I'm aware
Mm,
that in the 2010s, there was a slight EDM and pop infusion going on, where certain, like,
mhm.
more, I guess, I would say underground techniques in EDM were infused into pop music. Now, is
Yeah,
that deep
yeah.
house? Not necessarily. I think that's more electro or EDM. However, in terms
Mm.
of I think it's generally quite hard to bridge deep house with pop music because just the emotions behind it are quite hard to portray in a pop song. Now, I wish there was
Mm.
a way to mend the two together, but it's actually quite hard, I'd say.
Mm, okay. Yeah, interesting. And what would be some of those like emotions that you feel like wouldn't translate well into pop?
I think, okay, with pop, most of the work is done with, let's say, melodies and lyrics. There's an
Yeah.
intersection between the two, while most deep
Mhm.
house songs either have no lyrics or indiscernible lyrics. And I think that
Mhm.
also alienates the pop audience because they're expecting a structure and some sort of human element with language to
Mm,
connect with the music. Number two, I
sure.
also think there's frequencies with basses. Some people like really low basses, and some people like it a little
Mm,
more tame. And I think the middle ground is quite hard to reach. And yeah, basically feelings of existentialism as well. Not too existential, but a little bit.
mhm. Mhm. Interesting. And you kind of like differentiated between EDM and deep house. what would be some of those differences? Because I think to a lot of people, they would kind of be interchangeable, especially if they're not listening to those genres a lot. I think a lot of people would kind of be like, yeah, that's just like house music, and EDM is the same.
Um, no, they're not wrong, but they're not correct. I think it's a little bit of like it's we can meet each other in that sense.
Yeah, sure.
I think it just depends on how you approach music. You know, top 40 charts exist for a reason, and certain EDM top 40 charts exist for a reason. However, the reason why I'm making the distinction is because I guess I've gone into the deep cuts and, just basically artists that wouldn't fit, I guess, the mold of what top 40 EDM would be worldwide. Doesn't matter if it's the US or the UK. That's why I guess I have to make that distinction. However, am I offended if it's conflated? Not really. It's life.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, because I guess I feel like some of that confusion would maybe I get so I'm trying to bridge like some popular artists. Like I'm thinking of like Charlie XCX's newest album Brat. Like that had a lot of EDM in it, EDM inspired. Some people would be like that's house music as well. Probably not correct. LCD Sound System would be another one where people would kind of think this is kind of house inspired. And what would you kind of say? Is that would you be like, no, it's just pure EDM, there's no house there, or do you think that there is kind of a mixing in that sense that there's maybe some influence from both?
I think there's an influence from both, especially with Charlie XCX album, in terms of acid house, because I can hear a lot of 909 synthesis in the album. It
Sure.
doesn't have to be binary. It doesn't have to be this is this. No, there's a lot of infusion
Yeah.
in the middle.
Yeah, totally. And for you, what's kind of the draw for you mostly with these different genres? You listed several. You've got deep house, ambient, breakcore, which I feel like unless you're in that space, I think that the differentiation is tough for people. I know for me, I'm like, I don't know what breakcore exactly is. I don't know. Like, I know what ambient and deep house is, but yeah, it is interesting. What like genre is such an interesting thing because for the most part, it's like no one band or artist would fit perfectly into one genre, but you have to kind of label it sort of, at least for the industry, they want it to be labeled as something. So like you're kind of fitting it. But anyway, I'm just curious what kind of draws you to these genres for you specifically. Yeah.
I think it's a little bit of, I guess, in terms of electronic music, my tendency to go towards more tech and discipline sounds, kind of like, there's a lot of, in these songs, there's a lot of notions of technology, AI, science, deep space, interfused with these genres. In terms of world music, it has to do with my upbringing, because I'm originally from Singapore. I grew up and was raised in Singapore. So there's a lot of different cultures. There's Chinese, Malay, Indian, African,
Sure, yeah.
all just mixed together. So
Yeah.
this goes back to marketability, because to me it's not world music. To me it's separate, but I kind of have to put it into one thing. And in terms of neo soul and jazz, I think jazz has. I was originally gonna put classical, but I'm kind of an improvisation type of person, and I think neo soul is a
Yeah.
continuation of
Yeah.
jazz itself, and I'm drawn to such things because I guess I like to challenge the boundaries of music itself.
Yeah, and definitely neo soul does that for sure. For sure. Um yeah, and maybe talk about some of these artists that we've got here. For one, of the five artists that you listed, who would be probably like the most well known? Um and then yeah, maybe just kind of talk about each of them and what kind of sets them apart for you and makes them interesting to you.
I would definitely say out of all of it, Deep Forest has to be the most popular, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah.
What draws me to it is, I guess if I say I like world music and technology, their whole niche deals with ethnic electronica, and that's the intersection of both worlds. In terms of the other artists, I guess I'll go down by how worldwide recognized they are. Um,
Mm.
I would say Morikante is actually more globally recognized than Godfathers of Deep House in a weird way, but to a
Mm.
specific age range that they're maybe in their 40s right now, to be honest with you,
Yeah.
because his music had a worldwide reach, but probably in the 80s or 90s. Um,
Sure.
as for what draws me to his music, I'd say I do have a bias for music from Mali and Guinea because I like the tonal resonance of the instruments they use. They use kind of like a
Mm.
wooden gourd and a lot of polyphonic rhythms as well, especially with an instrument
Mm.
called the bellophone. Um,
Mm.
afterwards, I'd say, this is hard. Safar
Yeah.
Ayubi. Now, I'm sure that's a completely alien name to all of y'all. Who is
Mm.
Zafar Ayubi? He is a artist from Uzbekistan. Now, Uzbekistan is a very obscure country as is. What
Mm.
draws me to
Absolutely.
his music is a very odd time signature in his songs. He uses the
Mm.
7/16 time signature. If you have any
Wow.
understanding of like time signatures, that's insane. And
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Absolutely.
okay, I would have to group Drummer T924 and Godfathers of Deep House SA together because they're both from South Africa, but one
Mm.
deals with Deep House and the other deals with, I guess, subgenres of Amapiano.
Mm.
Um, what draws me to both of them, I would say, infusing a bit of soul and experimentalism in terms of electronic music. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. Interesting. And um, one thing that I've read recently, and I would assume this would also apply to deep house, but it was specifically about EDM. At least the perspective the writer was writing from that genre specifically. But they were just talking about how now with the like involvement of AI in music, that specifically EDM is and I guess they did say house music in general, but like is especially threatened just because obviously it's easier for AI to mimic instruments than it is to necessarily mimic like voice adequately or properly, and then obviously if they're not having to write lyrics as well. So they were kind of talking about how it's going to be and is currently a bigger issue, that a lot of people are just completely writing music now with AI and kind of taking the artistry out of that. As somebody that is like just obviously a listener of these genres specifically, like have you thought much of this? Have you heard much of this?
Okay, here's the fun part. I actually train AI
Mhm.
in my free time as my side job. So I kind of
Wow.
see the underpinnings of where this is going. And in terms of
Sure.
music review, well, we actually had an artist called Buju Rocks, who I can tell her
Mm.
chords and lyrics were all AI. Um,
Okay.
I would say if you make generic EDM, like the stuff you hear in ads or in the top 40, of course you're gonna be replaced, of
Sure.
course. But I think
Yeah.
it's also how you look, like how people deal with AI, what your role AI plays in your life. Some people use AI
Mm.
to make the music for them. Some people use AI to do negative prompting and go, give me 10 scales I've never used before. So it really depends on
Mm.
how, I guess, how willing you are to push the boundaries and how, whether you
Sure.
want an easy gimmick or you want to make actual music that stands the test of time.
Mm. Hmm. Yeah. No, that is interesting, and there definitely are positive ways that AI can be utilized to kind of go hand in hand. But I think the main fear in the music industry is automation versus artistry. That if you're automating something, you're removing the artistry. And I guess this could kind of kick back to you as well, Yusuf.
Mm.
But like, do you
Mm.
guys have any certain policy at Music Review World for that? If you recognize that something is AI, like I know that legality of that is like really sticky, and it's like obviously they haven't fully figured out what that means in the
Mm.
music industry. But I'm just curious if you guys have. You mentioned you saw that in one of your reviews, Grace. So I'm just curious if you've encountered that a lot.
Yeah, in terms of using AI, you know that they a normal expert, a musician who is talented, a producer, once you hear it, you know, you can feel it.
Mm,
So
mm-hmm,
and that's the reason why you cannot um take it out of the how like like the artistry kind of feel, because you can't separate them, right? You can only use it to enhance your creativity, as we all know.
mm,
And when it comes to like the industry, like I believe the musicians, the artists themselves already know that they don't need to be afraid, but they just need to up their game. Like forget about AI. AI can now produce, it can write song, like
mm,
literally everything can be done with it. Like
yeah.
so, but now when it comes to performance,
Mm,
so that is what musicians now need to work on, right? You use AI to produce. We know the the adoption now is on the high level because people are no more afraid of
mm,
it. They are using it to their advantage. But now, the musician, what can you do when, like, say, okay, come to the stage, come and perform your track, your album? Are you able to deliver? You know,
mm,
even if the song, the album itself was made with AI, right? So
yeah.
can you deliver? So that's the
Mm,
question that we'll put out to the musicians out there, that you can use AI, it's fine. We will always know if a music is made with the AI. We
mm,
know, right?
yeah. Yeah.
And also there are tools now that can be used to detect. I think there is not much, but I know there are tools out there that can, once you run it through, it will tell you
Mm,
if this is made with AI or not. So and
sure.
yeah, it can be amazing sometimes with the artist that she mentioned. Uh, what was his name? Is it Ruju Joke or something like Ruju
Uju
Rocks or
rocks.
something like
Yeah.
that? But yeah, Ruju Rock. So, but when you listen to it, bro, like it's super dope, but at the
Mm,
same time, you can feel
yeah.
it that this is not
Mm,
human.
sure. Sure.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so but that's just my take. Um,
Mm,
and of course, our process is we don't um, reject music that we feel it was like has been made with AI, but
mm,
at the same time, like most of the team, they just like, okay, it seems this part of something has been made with AI or something.
mm,
So we still make it engaging, that okay, it's good, but still we feel like it has been made with AI, and we just disclose it. And
mm,
if it is
sure.
false, then the artist can literally just write out that, oh, it's false, and then we can
Mm,
adjust it.
okay. Okay. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So well, also like based on the product, or like call it the pipeline, so that we have, we're also thinking of creating something that can help,
Mm,
like using AI technology to be able to analyze uh, the the virality of a song. So,
mm,
like if a song is run through the AI,
mm,
then we can, based on a lot of data that we're using, we can um, we can predict how successful that song will be.
mm,
So that's another level. So maybe when we get to that level,
yeah.
we also let it known. So,
Mm,
but I think the industry need that. So, but
mm,
let's see how our team will grow, and then let's see how we can develop such a technology.
mm, yeah. Yeah. For sure. Totally. Yeah. Um. Yeah. It's kind of like an interesting, I don't know, dialogue to get into, and like we're seeing artists already kind of utilize it. I know that he's not in popular opinion very well recognized anymore, but I know that Kanye is like probably one of the biggest artists that's like actually actively utilizing AI in his production, and he's gotten a lot of pushback from that, of course, amongst many other things that are very they're
It make,
obviously not great. But it is interesting that some of that stuff is coming into the forefront of music, and obviously when something new like this happens, there's going to be pushback. There's going to be, bad practices, good practices.
that's true.
So it is really interesting to kind of see what that looks like, and yeah, it's only getting better and better. Like in terms of AI, there probably will come a time where maybe I don't know. I would say there's probably going to come a time where it would be really tough to even distinguish between the two, whether something's AI and
Yeah,
whatever
well,
something's not.
it's possible, and of course
Yeah.
that is why there's a lot of human touch involved in the
Mm,
training of AI. So
hmm.
trying to bring the mind of the people, real people, into the technology
Yeah.
to advance it. So I think it's definitely going to continue to smooth it up and grow, and yeah,
Hmm.
to get to the point where it's going to be hard, as you said, to distinguish difference
Hmm.
between AI and non-AI music. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. Absolutely. Um, Yeah, I'm curious if there's anything else that you guys can think of, like some trends that you're seeing. You said that rock is like one of the biggest genres. What do you think would be kind of second, or is it just so like open that there's not even anything else?
Grace. You want to talk?
Let me think. I genuinely, besides rock, I don't see a pattern. There's no real pattern really,
Mm,
because it seems to be distributed between alternative, classical, world even.
mm,
Now in
Yeah.
the rock world though, I think obviously it's not dead. However, I know there's certain types of rock that are gaining popularity due to TikTok, like bands like I'm
mm.
not sure if I'm pronouncing it right, Moneskin, something like that. But
Yep.
yeah, definitely rock is gonna be, I guess, the star of what is
Mm.
alternative in indie as it always has been. So
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Have you been noticing like much for country music coming through?
actually
Yeah,
we have,
we've seen
yeah.
few. Yeah, we've seen few country, also alternatives. Yeah, I think country is also one of the top one there. So few country song has been requested.
Mm,
So, but like, of course, rock is the top, but we have like different genre that has been
mm,
listened to. We try as much as possible to stay open,
mm,
and then and also we are doing like kind of a parallel scale method for our team. So because uh, my own vision personally is to make our reviewers the face of the platform. So
mm,
we'll get to a point where um, high percentage of the revenue will go to their hand, and that is what the thing that I'm trying to also figure out. Collecting data, feedback,
mm,
and all of those, so that we can see how we can. That probably will change the model at some point,
mm,
so that we can let the reviewers and the expert, the DJs, the producers, uh, work directly with the musicians, so that we can have that first-hand feeling of what our team can offer. So
mm.
that's another thing that
Yeah.
we're looking at. So.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. The reason why I was asking about country is just because I've read a lot of articles about how country music is like becoming one of the most listened to genres, at least in the US for sure. So I wasn't sure if you were
Interesting.
seeing that trend, with the music coming in. And that could just mean that that rock is gonna have a resurgence here soon, and that that'll be coming in the forefront. Yeah.
Maybe. So,
Yeah.
but it's also very good information that you're giving right now. So, maybe what we can maybe we can use that to reach out to them also, maybe with advertising, and
Mm,
see if there will be more of those
mhm.
that we could have, because like the pixel that we like the Facebook pixel, we always go
Yeah.
and find the top converting,
Sure. Of course.
musician based on those
Mm,
data. So
mm,
maybe I will have to create another ads that targets this country musician and see if they will be
yeah. Yeah.
open
Maybe.
to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
So,
true.
but
Yeah.
otherwise, yeah,
Mhm.
we've been having much of those rock.
Just curious if you guys have any kind of last thoughts, last inputs. Yeah.
I have a question for you though.
Sure.
Are you ready for me?
Sure. I'm ready. I'm ready.
So, if I ask you now, what's the difference between you've read our reviews, right? I mean, maybe
Mm-hmm.
few of those.
Mm-hmm.
So, what would be your take on pitchfork level of analysis and music review world?
Um, that's an interesting question. Um, I feel like I feel like there's to me there's not a whole lot of difference. Like I do think that you guys put a lot of time and effort and intentionality into your reviews. Um, a lot of it probably does just come down to the reputation. Like I
Mm,
think that that's like I think that's something that people value a lot, even though I don't know, Pitchfork, the people love to hate them as well. Like it's a love-hate
that's
relationship,
true.
right? So
Yeah.
and yeah, I think that in terms of the review, like the quality of the reviews that you guys are putting out, like I don't necessarily think that there's like um
Huge gap.
lack there. If yeah, like I guess the only other like difference too would be you've got like new music versus like for the most part Pitchfork is reviewing known music, right?
The
Um
A-list artists, yeah.
yeah, like
I
they
think
do sometimes they
they don't really give access to the emerging artist. So
mm,
I think that is one thing there, because I've done research about them that the musicians they
mm,
don't even know how to submit to them. So
yeah. Yeah,
yeah, so I think
absolutely, yeah.
the exclusivity is there,
Mm.
but probably is also one thing that the upcoming musicians don't really like. So, but yeah.
Mm, yeah, yeah. I think that there's just it is one of those things where for whatever reason I don't really know the history of how Pitchfork got started, but for whatever reason they developed a
Mm.
reputation as being one of the leaders in music criticism.
Yeah,
And
they are.
I would say that like I don't even I would say that probably they don't take submissions. That would be my guess, unless there's some reputable something, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
I did talk to a gentleman that does a little bit of writing for Pitchfork earlier,
Okay.
a few episodes ago, and it seems like it's almost more them seeking than it is people coming to them, if that makes sense.
Mm.
So I feel like even some of the newer stuff they might review that maybe doesn't have like those artists are don't have as much traction or as many monthly listeners or
Mm.
something. It's usually the people that are writing the articles that have found like that are kind of seeking out that music, if that makes sense, than it is I think
I
people
see.
coming to them. Yeah, but because yeah, I've read a few reviews on some pretty obscure, like newer artists that I've never really heard of. But yeah, it seems at least if I could make an assumption on how it works, it seems like these people that are writing, they have kind of experts in certain genres, and they've got their finger on the pulse of who's kind of breaking through and who to keep an
Mm.
eye on.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Well,
it kind
that
of seems to go that way.
yeah. I know, like, of course, I've written about them, and uh, when you search the internet, we are we're
Mm.
trying to you know bridge a gap between them and us. So we're trying to make sure that at least
Yeah.
anybody searching for them, they find us as alternative.
Mm.
So and then it's been working, and
Mm.
then we've also been delivering. So that's one thing that I'm happy with,
Yeah.
and the team
Yeah.
absolutely amazing. Yeah, Grace
Mm.
has been the longest person athlete. Yeah, there's also one reviewer, Jake. He started with
Mm.
me also, but he also has other thing now he's working on. So he's
Mm.
hands off now. So
Mm.
and Grace also has been the amazing person in the team. And then all of the team super amazing. We have the DJs, we have the musicians, we have you know
Mm.
uh, just
Yeah.
music enthusiasts that love to write, and so
Mm.
the quality is just there, and I'm happy with every one of them. And yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. I,
yeah,
I think that's awesome, and I think maybe like touching back on the pitchfork thing too. Like I think sometimes they make a reputation of themselves by being either specifically pretty negative towards something. Like, you know what I mean? If they, I think they can be pretty cutting and pretty harsh toward music, and I don't really get that sense that that's what you guys kind of want to do. Like, I think you're honest, but I
no,
don't think you necessarily want to garnish views based on being, you know, a little bit
we
yeah,
don't want to be
harsh
controversial. We
and
just want
judgmental.
to, yeah,
Yeah.
we don't want to be controversial. We just want to, deliver that value, the insights, the action point where they can
Mhm.
improve, and
Mhm.
clarity, and also making it engaging for the music lovers. That when they are reading,
Absolutely.
you
Yeah.
spark that curiosity about this musician, and then they go themselves to research and listen and do all of this. So that's
Mhm.
what we are building.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. I think that that's needed big time in the industry, because there's a lot of people that are out there trying to get a platform or get a reputation, and the way they're doing it is through, you know, kind of that extreme method of either
Mm.
being very negative and judgmental, or yeah, whatever it is, kind of having it in over the top personality. Um, So yeah, I think it's kind of it's all over the place. There, I don't know if you're familiar. There's a guy that I've followed on Instagram. I forget what he does, but he like his whole thing is he does like lives on Instagram where he like roasts people's music. So like they'll submit their songs and then he like completely trashes them. Like it's very
Oh.
negative. Um, so it's one of those things where it's like, man, this is rough, but people pay for it, and it's like, whoa, like I don't know why people are doing
Mm.
that, but they'll submit to him. I think sometimes, like obviously, sometimes he'll be positive, but for the most part, I think the audience that are submitting to him are usually not necessarily top caliber artists and musicians. So
Yeah.
he has a lot of content to kind of build that reputation of him being like just
Mm.
really mean and nasty. Yeah.
We
Yeah.
are not that, at least not
Yeah.
not
Oh,
at
and
all.
that's good. I think that's good. I think that's for the better.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think this has been a great conversation. I really appreciate you guys coming on and being able to talk a little bit about this, about, you know, kind of the review process, and to get a little bit of a glimpse into some of these beginning stages of what, you know, musicians and emerging artists kind of go through. So I appreciate you guys coming on, and yeah, it's been a good conversation, a lot of fun.
Yeah, pleasure. Thanks for inviting us.
Yeah,
And also
of
thanks for
course.
the
Oh,
patience.
yeah,
Yeah, the patience was,
yeah,
I
no,
remember when I received the first email, I was like, oh, I need to find out how
oh,
we're
no
gonna
worries.
jump on this. So, but
Hey,
we are really
that's
happy.
not a problem. Yeah, no, that's not a problem at all. I totally understand. Life is hectic, so yeah, that's it for this show. If you guys are out there and you're listening and you want to get, you know, music reviewed, or you want to just read some reviews, check out Music Review World. They've got Instagram. The website seems to be what their main push is. So lots of content on there. I've been on there several times, so go check them out, and come back next week for another episode with another guest. We'll see you guys shortly.